I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order.
Good, okay.
Good. Call this meeting to order at 7:17. Adjust agenda. Any adjustment to the agenda before we adopt it?
And for me?
Good, none for me. All right. Approve minutes from previous meeting. Any changes?
I'll move we adopt them as they are.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then you said from 3, we're going to skip to Liz's presentation.
Yes.
Good.
We'll do that real quick. We'll, yeah, up there, right here. Okay. We'll test the audio and make sure she can hear us and get ready to share screen. Oh, you have us?
Hi, hang on.
Got to turn your volume up a little bit.
Sorry, I was playing Florida Georgia line. Now my dog is barking. Sorry about that.
It's coming out of the speaker, but we can barely hear. Do we have to turn up camera? Hey Liz, can you give us a test?
Yeah, I'll shout at my dogs. Ginger, come on.
Way better. Okay.
Come on. Ginger. Small dogs bark the loudest.
Do you want to share your PowerPoint or do you want us to?
I would. Yeah, if you don't mind.
No, that's perfect.
Okay, so who do I have here though? I see 2 gentlemen in dark clothing and then kind of half of a person on the left-hand side of my screen. So who's here, Chief?
You have Commissioner Merritt, Commissioner Flath, myself, Chief Waller, Chief Gatterman, Chief Hodkinson, Chief Sheriff running our AV, and we have a community member here, Merritt Weiss, in the audience.
Great.
Our first.
And we have Commissioner Smokers on his way. He should be here in a couple minutes.
Oh,
Yes.
great. So Chief Sheriff, could you pan out? Because right now I just see 2 commissioners. A little more. Can you do it a little more, please?
That's the.
Okay.
I think you got almost everybody in there.
All right. Great. So good evening. Thank you so much for having me, Chief. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to talk about improving communication with taxpayers. So Chief, you have to, or Chief Share, you have to enable me to share, please.
He's working on it.
You can present or?
It's all good. It's a new thing for us, right? All of us. Okay. No, that's not going to work. Here we go. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Right, okay, so let's go ahead and talk. Chief Waller contacted us to talk about how we could potentially help Snohomish Fire District 4 improve communication with taxpayers. It was a very exciting call for me to get because Snohomish is my hometown. So I want to go through this slideshow. And I want to talk with you about effectively communicating with taxpayers. So this is something after I left political office. This is something that I have made a career out of because I believe strongly in local government and its ability to deliver services to taxpayers and have them see the benefit of that. So oftentimes when we think about paying our taxes to the feds, right, or even thinking about Congress, neither of those have a lot of appeal. But certainly when you pay a check to the city or your fire district, you see personnel, you see ambulances, you see fire engines, you see potholes filled, schools built. And so I chose to make a career out of helping local government succeed. So I just want to walk you through kind of who we are and what we do and what we think we can do for Snohomish County Fire District 4. So I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, but at this point in my life, I have 30 years of experience. I just celebrated a birthday recently, and so I'm trying to embrace that. Hopefully some of you can commiserate. But everything I've done in my life since graduating from college many years ago has been to help government improve communication with taxpayers. So I've either worked for elected officials or served as an elected official myself. I am adamantly nonpartisan. So many of you know that I did have a party preference when I ran for office, but you will be relieved to know most of my clients are from Eastern Washington, Eastern Oregon, and Idaho. And that, I think, speaks to the fact that public service is nonpartisan, right? And so that's really the approach we take in our company, is not to pick sides, simply to put our position in front of voters to be able to make an educated and informed choice. A couple of other things I want to let you know about. So I've done a lot of public speaking in my time, most recently for the Idaho Fire Commissioners, which was super fun in Boise last month, and also Fire Rescue International. So whether you're a firefighter or a fire commissioner, you know about this national conference. And so this year will be my second year presenting to them. My partner in crime is AJ Chippendale, and she is born and raised in Arlington, Washington. AJ and I have worked together almost 20 years, and like I enjoy saying, our work relationship even outlasted my marriage. Okay, good. I was waiting for that. That's humor, right? But AJ is great. And so in our company, we have delineated responsibilities. So I do strategy, about 85% of all the writing. I'm responsible for messaging and development. AJ is responsible for some writing, like social media posts, but she also does production. And in almost 20 years of working together, she has never missed a printing or mailing deadline. And there are not a lot of firms that can say that. Her background is advertising and production. One thing that we have in common is we believe in community and local government. So AJ has served as an airport commissioner, in addition to supporting a variety of education projects, foundations, and trusts in her community. So unfortunately, she could not be with us tonight because guess what? She has a 4-year-old child. So that is something certainly we also support. I want you to get to know our company as well as the two of us, right? So we are small. It's me, AJ, and I have 3 other part-time employees. But we believe in a good work-life balance. So we take a limited number of clients per year. That, you know, to quote AJ about 10 years ago, Liz, I don't live to work like you do. So it really caused me to restructure our company to make sure that everyone who does work for us has a good work-life balance. And of course, for our clients, that's a huge benefit because you're not getting some churn and burn company that just wants to send you an invoice every month, right? We are very discriminating about who we work with and the projects we take. So that leads me into our next slide about what we do. Probably about 60% of what we do are ballot measures to help local governments either secure revenue or annex or merge, right? And definitely a majority of our clients are fire districts, and that's where those components apply. We also work with public hospital districts. We have two school districts. We have 3 cities, 2 of whom are in Snohomish County. In Oregon, we've worked with ambulance districts, and then aquatics districts. And I have to tell you folks, nothing good happens at a public pool.
Liv,
Yes, thank you.
you're on the screen, we're seeing it's still stuck on the first slide and not in presentation view. So I don't know if we locked up or.
I don't know. Can you see that now?
Now we're to the 3rd slide.
Okay. All right. Let me try that. Can you see that?
We can see the slide, but it doesn't seem to be going to slideshow. It's just in like edit mode still.
Okay. So why don't we keep it here just for the purpose of being respectful of your time, so you can see these 4 bubbles?
Correct.
Great. Okay, so let me walk you through this. So as I mentioned, most of what we do are ballot measures for funding or organizational needs. We also provide off-site general communication services. So our oldest client is Benton County Fire District 4, and we've worked for them for almost 14 years. So every other year we're on the ballot, and during the years we're not on ballot, we're providing general communication services for them. So we do their newsletters, we run their website, we do strategic communication news releases, which is different than incident reporting, right? We also do public relations for some of our clients, and certainly during the course of our contract, if something should happen within the fire district that required management from a communication perspective, we would provide that for you. A small part of what we do, about 15% of our revenue comes from crisis communications. And so what I have learned in providing that service is nothing good is on the other end of a phone call after about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So in those situations, we help our clients message through it. And we like to say ride the wave, right? But certainly it's a skill we have developed over the years. And so as part of having a contract with us, you would also benefit from that. Although I hope no one's going to call me after 9 or 10 o'clock. There is one thing I want to point out here. So we have a 96% win record for elections, and certainly we protect the integrity of our clients. And so we understand that we can educate, not advocate on ballot measures. But the reason we have such a high win ratio is we interview you just like you interview us. I just got a call from the city of Prosser today saying, hey, we want to be on the ballot in November. And I said, no. I said, we're not going to take that account, because between now and when ballots are mailed in October for them, we don't feel like we can affect the outcome at the ballot box. So part of, I think, our success rate is that we help our clients craft a viable project that's respectful of the demographics and income levels of the cities or districts that they serve. Okay. Okay, so that's what we do. So how do we do it? So we have 3 phases when we agree to take on a project. Phase 1 is project development. So that would be my company and the fire district setting up processes and systems between your organization and ours. Something as simple as who sends out press releases, who updates Facebook. Will you give us admin access to your Facebook page? So it takes about a month and a half to work that out. The second phase is developing key messages and a communications plan. I'm going to spend some time on that in a second here. So Phase 3 is really the bulk of what we do. And that's when we take the plan that everyone's agreed on and we implement it. So effectively, we do the work for our clients, and they have found that super helpful. Our clients are usually small to medium size, say, fire districts. Although we are talking to the city of Tacoma right now about running their EMS levy lit lift, but they're usually smaller organizations that don't have the internal resources to have a full-time communications person on staff. So they hire us to kind of come in and supplement that when it's needed. The average time of our contract is about 12 months. We have been known to take contracts less than that, but what I've realized after doing this for 20 years, it's really important to bid out the job, not the cost, right? So that's where we are. So let's kind of talk a little bit more about phase 1. The area I want to focus on here has to do with this last component about assessing challenges to service, financial impacts and benefits of a ballot measure. I think one of the value add services we provide is walking our clients through kind of a checks and balances system. So, you know, in column A, you have everything that will help us educate the public and potentially win a ballot measure. But in column B, you may have some issues that need resolving before we go to ballot, right? And of course, being from Snohomish, I'm very aware of Fire District 4 and the great service it provides, and also its reputation, which can be good and bad. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about phase 2. So the one thing I would like you to focus on for this slide, please. We're going to spend some time about talking about key messages and why they're important for the project. But for this component for phase 2, it's important also that you know we do the messaging, right? We do a strategic communications plan. We also identify and train spokespeople. 9 times out of 10, that spokesperson for any kind of ballot measure project will be our fire chief, right? But there also may be fire commissioners who want to get involved. And that's certainly something we can do, is train your board in how to respond to difficult questions from the public or inquiries from the news media. There's one other part to this, which is coalition building. So when we look to educate the community, we have to cast a very broad net for our content and information. And partnering with chambers of commerce and Kiwanis groups and Seroptimists and church groups is absolutely critical to get our message out. So we start doing that in phase 2, coalition building with local groups. Okay, so let's talk about key messages. Do you have any questions at this point? Are you fascinated?
No, thank you.
You're fascinated, right? This is riveting.
Yes. Super fascinating. You said no.
We also, well, we also believe in a lot of laughter, so thank you for that. Okay, so key messages are critical for any project. They end up being the backbone of how we educate the public about what we are proposing. They are fact-based, but they're also compelling. In 30 years, well, I guess 20 years of doing this work, we've never had a complaint filed against us with the PDC because we recognize the integrity of your fire district is critical to voter support. Now, of course, you know, everyone knows how politics go, right? That's not to say someday, somewhere, that there's not going to be someone filing a bogus complaint. But we have managed to dodge those bullets. So I feel pretty good about that. But key messages have 5 components to them, right? The first is always who you are, who we are, and what we do. The second component is why we are deserving, and that usually encompasses a financial responsibility kind of message, right? Grants, paying cash for apparatus instead of financing, having bonds or not having bonds, right? Operating debt-free under a balanced budget, having passed all audits by the state, for example. The third component, and the first 2 messages are static. So long after we no longer work together, your staff will have kind of an outline and a guideline for continuing to share information. So we do like to say at the point you don't need us anymore and you can do all this in-house, then we've done our job. So the third message is challenges to service. So we have to communicate to the public as to why we have to go to ballot and ask for a lid lift, for example. And then the fourth message is solutions to those challenges, which is usually additional revenue, or it could be a merger or annexation, and the benefits that residents and businesses will see as a result of the ballot measure, and then also the impacts to taxpayers. And one point I want to make about the impacts to taxpayers is we work really hard to craft a reasonable amount, right? And certainly currently with inflation being at about 8% in the country, we have to be very sensitive to that fact, right? With households in our service area. And it's not just in Snohomish, it's statewide, it's nationwide. So the 3 states we work in, we have substantially retooled the packages that we're asking for during the November general election as a result of inflation issues. And so the 5th message I encourage my clients to have, and sometimes they push back on me with this, I think it's important to communicate to people a contingency plan. So if our revenue measure should fail, what are the consequences? And this is not a threat. We're not threatening. The reality is if we don't have funding to provide critical public services, something's got to give, right? And so, again, we work with our clients to communicate what that give could be. Okay? Any questions? Are you breathing?
Yes.
Both of them are.
Oh, good. Okay. I didn't know if I'd have to break out my defibs. Good. Okay. I can't see you, so I hear laughter, and that makes me feel better that I'm not just talking to myself and my PowerPoint screen. Okay, so phase 3 of what we do is plan implementation. And without a doubt, this is what our clients find to be the most helpful. So when you hire us, we are your de facto communications department, and we don't take up office space, and you don't have to pay us benefits and yada, yada, yada. So we develop messages and a plan that are approved by our client, and then we move forward with implementing that plan. And so what that means is I create materials and I send them out to a communications group, and that group is usually the fire chief, his executive management group. We like a rep from the union, we like a rep from the volunteers, and we like a rep from the board. It's also nice to have a citizen who is largely supportive of the fire district on the committee as well. And then I create materials, I send them out to you, and you sit there with your cup of coffee and you go, yes, I like that, or Liz, change this. And then as soon as we have the committee's approval, we start pushing them out. And again, that depends on what level of comfort you have with us communicating with the news media or having access to your Facebook page, your website, that kind of thing. And I'm going to talk about strategies and tactics for message delivery so you understand exactly what the plan entails. But before I jump into that, I do want to talk about post-election communication. So after doing this for 5 to 7 years, what we learned is that fire districts, for example, would hire us to come in and communicate about a ballot measure. And we would do that, we would win, we would go away, and they would stop doing anything. And so that became very problematic. So as part of our contracts moving forward, we started including post-election communication materials for our clients to send after we were gone. So that could include like an extra edition of a newsletter, for example. It could include a news release where you talk about what you're going to do with the additional revenue. But it's absolutely critical to continue communicating with voters even when you're not on the ballot. And I want to refer back to Benton County Fire District 4. So again, we've worked with them for 13, 14 years, and we have never failed a ballot measure for them in that time. And we've done permanent EMS levies, we've done levy lid lifts, we've done multi-million-dollar bonds for them. And part of the reason that they continue to pass these revenue measures in a very conservative fire district is the fact that they communicate with their residents and businesses even during years they're not on the ballot. And that is something whether we work together or not, that is something I strongly encourage all of our local government clients to do. And once you get in a rhythm and a cycle of doing this and explaining how you're funded and what your needs are, you'll find it's very easy when you go to ballot. And also going to ballot, you want to do that regularly. So we set Benton 4 up to have a 2-year cycle. So every other year they're on the ballot, either for their EMS levy lid lift like this year, or their fire levy lid lift like 2 years ago, and prior to that a bond. So it's very systematic. People have to see you on the ballot to understand that tax dollars fund public services, right? And you don't want things to get too low, say your fire levy, for example, before you go to ballot. So you're all of a sudden asking for a huge amount in a levy lid lift. So just a little free advice there. The communications plan, there are 5 components to an effective communications plan. Paid communications, and all of these are important, right? You can't do one and not the other and expect a positive outcome. So when we put plans together, there are components in each of these 5 areas. So paid communications, I know for a fact you have a newsletter. I received it. It was great to read, but it could be advertising. The Snohomish Chamber is very active and involved in the community. So doing paid advertising for something they're involved with could potentially be beneficial. Also, a fire district is allowed 1 piece of direct mail if and when they're on the ballot. And so that's something we also anticipate including in your plan, in addition to, say, a printed and mailed newsletter. Earned media. So earned media is important. The problem is we're losing our local news. We're losing our local print media sources nationwide. Smaller papers are going out of business, or they're selling out to like Gannett Press, but it still has an influence. Papers are going online. So we want to make sure that we are, for lack of a better word, aggressive when it comes to securing column inches. So any communications plan we do for you is going to surely include things like news releases, letters to the editor. And we also want to develop positive relations with editors and reporters who cover our service territory. So I would anticipate for Snohomish 4, taking the chief and maybe the board chair, and again, a firefighter, be he or she a volunteer or career, taking all three of you in to meet with editors and reporters and letting them know about challenges to service, right? And editorial board visits are important, not only when we're on ballot, but also when we're not on ballot. Papers get very, very grumpy if you only go before them when you need something. All right. So cultivating those relationships is important, even though we're seeing a decline of printed press and everything kind of going digital when it comes to media. Social media, without a doubt, has grown in importance. The Pew Charitable Trust did a survey recently, and that survey said 82% of people are getting their news through social media applications, primarily Facebook. So that means they're not getting a paper delivered. They're not going to the newspaper's website for their news and signing in with a login and a password. They're looking at their social media feed and seeing what the headlines are. So social media is definitely important when it comes to educating people about factual information involving any revenue request we may have. Own media, this also is an attribute. So primarily this refers to your website, but your website is a passive way of delivering information. In other words, we have to do something like a social media post or something in a news article to drive people to your website to learn more information. We can't rely on people just saying, oh, I'm interested in Fire District 4 and I'm going to spend 30 minutes on my computer this morning with my cup of coffee learning about my fire district. That's not going to happen. We have to encourage them. We have to, I hate to use the word clickbait, but we have to drive them to our website for more information. And it's still a valuable resource, right? Your website ends up becoming a clearinghouse of information. So whereas our social media posts may be 30 seconds in length, if we drive them to your website, say our tax hawks, right? So 25 to 30% of voters are automatic heck no on taxes. And those are the ones who really want your website to be updated, factual, accurate. They want to scrutinize your budgets. They want to see your board meeting minutes. So making sure your website is an effective resource material is very important for that constituency that you represent, commissioners. Signage, also important. Depending on what the fire district has, we coordinate, of course, messages of the month on your signs, on your social media, on your website, also through any written materials we have. So we do consider signage also an owned media asset. Videos are growing in importance. And so it's really funny when I think about starting my company many moons ago, people were like, videos? What? No one's going to watch a video. And now you have to have a video. And I'm going to look at you guys now when I do this because, right, I can't see you. So how many of you have watched a pet video on your phone? A dog. You seen a dog, a cat? No? I'm
Nope.
seeing Commissioner Schmoker go, no. Aaron, I know you have. You've watched something.
He's called me Aaron. You're talking like a YouTube video of some sort?
Yeah, YouTube,
Oh.
TikTok.
Yeah, I have seen something of the sort.
Right. Okay. So Commissioner Smoker hasn't, but what about the gentleman on my left? I can't see him very well. He's got a mask on.
Yeah, that's right.
You haven't seen any video?
No, I've seen videos. I don't watch cat and dog videos.
Okay, so no cat and dog, but are you getting videos of your grandkids or something like that?
No,
No,
that's a no for him.
no.
Oh, okay. Well, I could be wrong, but I can tell you videos are the wave of the future, and not long videos, right? The best information we can deliver, and this is based on statistics for clients that we have produced videos for, is 90 seconds, right? So we have a lot of our chiefs doing 60-second videos, just reporting back on monthly events or incidents, that kind of thing. So they will definitely feature prominently in the communications plan we draft for you. Okay. And the last thing I want to say about videos is humor gets watched, right? You can have a very official chief or commissioner looking video, and people are going to be like, yawn. Doing something that is fun and mildly irreverent gets watched. So there was a great video by an East Coast fire district called Rolling Hose. Anyone seen it?
No.
Okay, I encourage you to Google it because it's had more than 7 million views. I'm sorry?
Evan said that's right next to the cat and dog videos.
Well, it's called We Got Hose, and they